That was the least controversial segment I think I've ever seen.
She handled that so well, I think, on behalf of the families of Sandy Hook.
Yes.
I couldn't have been done any better by her.
No, I mean, and still, too, with Alex Jones, are you kidding me? That was a puff piece compared to what she could have done.
Oh, my gosh.
She didn't even
bring
get
up
into
the most incendiary weirdness.
Yeah, she didn't bring
that
up
he brings to the table.
The animal-human hybrids.
She didn't get into the weird sort of funny stuff. The Sandy Hook stuff probably is the most incendiary thing.
Yeah,
it
probably is.
It probably is. But I mean,
but she didn't get into the golden babies being roasted and eaten by the Bilderbergers or the owl people or whatever that is.
That's the owl people.
It's the owl people?
Yeah.
She didn't get into any of that. That's Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Like you don't know.
I don't even honestly understand, and I didn't understand this last week, the argument as to why she shouldn't do this interview. It's been done, he's been profiled by other sources before that have been high profile.
No, just
the New York Times.
Here's the thing. She's in a lose-lose situation. There's so many people that just don't like Megyn Kelly now because they just thought that she was, making this, that it started with the first Trump question at the first debate.
Well, that's where she lost the right. The idea that you would say that she was doing something irresponsible by bringing up a guy, first of all, the president went on her show. And people are, on his show. And that was a pretty big deal at the time. Secondarily, the other president, Obama, also called out Jones in the last campaign. So we have two presidents on record talking about this guy.
So maybe you might want to know something about expose the lack of credibility there.
I will say the way she presented the relationship between the president and Alex Jones with videotape, she didn't allege anything. Mm-hmm. She asked him, and then she presented the evidence, and I didn't even know that. I thought that was pretty stunning.
Well, I mean, again, you don't know how much of this is Alex Jones lying because he's constantly doing that.
No. She said, because he was constantly lying. And did anybody else notice he didn't make eye contact with her? When she would ask him a question, a tough question, he would break eye contact and he would look down and he would look around and then he would finish and he would look up at her. And it was so shifty.
A sweaty mess, too, the
entire time. But I think that's the, steroids or whatever he's on.
And it's also partially Jeffy syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, the idea that she was going to be giving him some sort of credibility by this interview. I mean, he looked terrible.
Looked terrible.
He looked terrible.
On Father's Day? Terrible.
John Ronson, who we've had on the program before.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, our first ever exposure to Alex Jones, he came on the show when we were in Tampa, I believe.
Alex Jones did?
No,
John Ronson.
John Ronson. And he wrote a book.
Sounds like a made-up name. John Ronson?
John Ronson, yeah. But he's a great guy. He's been on the show a few times.
He's been on the show a few times. He was just on...
That's weird. I used to talk to Ron Johnson quite a bit. But
that's an actual real name, too.
Yeah. But anyway, he was just on our show. He's the guy with the English accent who... Yeah. He's really quite brilliant.
Yeah, he wrote a book about people who get shamed on the internet, which is why the most recent reason we had him on. However, he wrote a book, and he went with Alex Jones. Yeah. This is back when anyone knew who he was.
To the Bohemian Grove.
To the Bohemian Grove to see the owl ceremony.
That's exactly when he did the bullhorn session about roasted golden babies being consumed by these guys.
Yeah, that's the same. Yeah,
same time.
Same time. I don't know if it was the same time. It was the same festival.
I think it was the same time.
Anyway, long story short, this guy has known Alex Jones before anybody else has in the media. And he said that interview was the worst he's ever looked at an interview.
I believe that.
I mean, this is a guy who's been following him from long before any of us knew who he was.
Ronson said the Megyn Kelly.
The Megyn Kelly thing was the worst he's ever looked at an interview.
Yeah.
Well, we should. I mean, listen to this, and you be the judge.
Here he is on InfoWars in December 2014.
But it took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake.
You said the whole thing is a giant hoax. How do you deal with a total hoax? It took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake. I did deep research, and my gosh, it just pretty much didn't happen.
At that point, and I do think there's some cover-up and some manipulation, that is pretty much what I believe. But then I was also going in devil's advocate, but then we know there's mass shootings and these things happen.
Going in devil's advocate.
So, you're trying to...
Okay, that is a weird series of sentences.
What is this?
Okay. So at that time, I really did feel that way. Yeah, but also there's some weird things going on, and then I was also playing devil's advocate, and then I also believed it did happen. So I've really taken every position on every single.
But that's
possible,
what he does. He says outrageous things, and then he says, "Well, at that time, I was only playing devil's advocate." Or at
clearly,
that time,
he was not. Though
he
did believe it. Yeah.
Oh, no,
he did believe
it,
and he was promoting it.
He believed it for months and months and months, if not years.
And by the way, he never in the interview actually says he doesn't believe it. He's not.
That is true.
Listen to the bigger part.
Right?
No, I'm not.
If you wrongly went out there and said it was a hoax, that's wrong.
But what I already answered your question was, listeners and other people are covering this. I didn't create that story.
But Alex,
You're blaming
the
listeners?
parents, one after the other,
Listeners.
devastated. The dead bodies that the coroner autopsy.
And they blocked all that, and they won't release any of it. That's unprecedented.
All of the parents
even the
decided
reports.
to come out and lie about their dead children.
I didn't say that.
What happened to the children?
I will sit there on the air and look at every position and play devil's advocate.
Was that devil's advocate? The whole thing is a giant hoax. The whole thing was fake.
Yes, because I remember in
Oh, man.
even that day, I'll go back from memory, then saying, but then some of it looks like it's real. But then what do you do when they've got the kids going in circles in and out of the building with their hands up? I watch the footage, and it looks like a drill.
When you say...
Stop there. Because we just looked at this footage.
In
It's
and out,
ridiculous.
the kids. He keeps referencing kids going around the building in circles. What is that?
I mean, it appears to just be people walking out of one side of a building and walking into
then
the
they go
other,
around.
but not over and over again, just once. Like they walk out of one exit and walk into another entrance in a line, which is what you would do if someone said, "Hey, we need you to walk to the front door. There's another area you need to go to there." Like that's what it appears to be. I mean, again, I don't know the full and it's obviously manipulated like crazy online.
If it was a hoax, though,
it's not. But like, why would that?
What would that
do?
mean?
Right.
What does it mean that they walked around the building?
Nothing.
What does that mean?
Nothing. This is the point.
So
they
weird.
get you, and that's why I hate even looking this stuff up, because when you look it up, you're like, oh, well, maybe this is true. First of all, it's not. Second of all, even if it was true, it would mean nothing. Again, the 9/11 towers came down under this idiot's reasoning to throw us into war with Iraq. So why the hell didn't we blame Iraq for it? Why the hell didn't George Bush come out the next day and say, you know what, who did this? A guy from Iraq. Why the hell didn't we go to war with Iraq right away? Why did we waste time going to war with Afghanistan? Why did we tell anyone about the Taliban? Why didn't we just go to war with Iraq? We all would have believed it, right? If the president of the United States came out and said, Saddam Hussein, he tweeted something even before Twitter that said, I'm going to take down the World Trade Center, we all would have been like, holy crap, because Saddam Hussein is an obvious adversary. We had already been to war with him. He had tried to assassinate a former president. We all would have believed that they were responsible. In fact, people believed it even when we didn't say it.
Stu and I actually did our homework in 1998-99 on Osama bin Laden. We knew who he was. We knew that he had threatened New York. We knew that he had threatened the financial district. And when the World Trade Centers came down 2 years later, we said to each other, who the hell would have done something like this? We knew it. We had done our homework. And when they said it's Osama bin Laden, we were like, Osama bin Laden, who is it? Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that guy? If we had done our homework, nobody knew, because we had even forgotten about it. Nobody knew.
And of course, a lot of this goes on partisan lines. If you remember correctly, which people don't today, about half of Democrats believe George Bush either took down the World Trade Center or allowed it to happen to go to war with Iraq, based largely on theories propagated by the moron Megyn Kelly is interviewing here. This is not a right-wing thing. The left, half of Democrats believed this because they didn't like George Bush at the time. Now, because Barack Obama became president, and then he started saying things about he wasn't born here, and that he was doing all these other crazy things to our society, many of which were not true, just like they weren't true against George W. Bush. People on the right started embracing him because they were taking down someone the right didn't like. That's not the way this is supposed to work. You're supposed to actually analyze. And this guy has done enough crap that you should always start at not believing him. Always. 100% of the time when he says something, if he says the sky is blue, you should assume it's green until confirmed otherwise. Always. His record is so lengthy on these things that there is no reason to ever believe anything he says unless you see it from 1,000 other sources.
You mean he's got an incredible reputation?
Oh,
see, here's
an interesting way to put that.
Really interesting. Here's what's interesting. She got pummeled from both sides, and we're not allowing ourselves to see the truth about Alex Jones. If you are on the right, you are giving him a pass because Megyn Kelly is persecuting him. If you are on the left, you don't know which one is worse, Megyn Kelly or Alex Jones. We have to decide what truth is, and there is truth. You can find it.